Welcome to Conversations with Laurel, everyone. I am your host, Laurel McHargue, and I have with me today, I'm gonna say it right up front. She's a very funny woman. The author, the author of this book that we're going to talk about. I have with me today Reina Callier. Reina, welcome to Conversations with Laurel.
Thank you for having me.
You are so very welcome. I have been looking forward to this. So, first of all, let me tell everybody I met you at the Georgetown Christmas Market
hmm
this past year. Jerry Fabianic, our friend, who's also an author, sets this up every year, and it's a place for local authors to sell their books and meet people and exchange books. And I think at the end of the thing, I came to your table and I saw your novel,
hmm
Sirens Go Off, and I laughed because those of you just listening to the podcast, you need to look it up. Well, you need to look it up and buy it. But there's a picture of one of the sirens, a mythological woman flipping off the heavens, and so we'll kind of get into that. It's a great cover. So, Raina, tell us who you are, who you really are.
Well, I was formerly a professor of classics at CU Boulder for about 15 years. I just stopped this past May.
Okay,
Yeah.
retired, retired.
Retiring, yeah, just moving on to other things.
Okay.
So my sisters and my husband and I have an event planning business, which is very fun.
Oh,
And then I'm doing some sort of remote transcription work as well. And then I'm hoping that, now that I'm not teaching full time, I can devote more time to writing. Because I just a couple of years ago is when I started taking this writing thing seriously. I'd always been a writer since I was a kid, right? I mean, a lot of writers are, right? A lot of writers are like, "Oh yeah, I used to write
storytellers for
stories
sure.
in
Yeah.
in
Huh?
kindergarten or whatever." I think I made up these little stories about like my Barbies and my My Little Ponies and things like that, right? And then I just I don't know, it just a couple years ago, a friend of mine from grad school who had started writing full time, who actually was there at the Christmas market, Andrew Moore, he was next to
Okay.
me, at his
Yeah.
tables was next to me. And he was like, "Hey, are you getting into writing? Like, because I'm getting into writing and I have this writing group and I would love for you to join." And I joined the writing group and everything just like fell into place. It
Oh.
was like having these people who were so supportive, so enthusiastic, and all of us sharing our journeys together and sharing our processes and then kind of learning more about the self-publishing world. And I just was like, "Oh my gosh, I really need to like throw myself in this direction." Right. So,
Yes.
yeah. So now, I mean, obviously, I'm doing these other things to make money because we know
Right.
how writing goes with money. But now I'm like really, really thinking of myself as a writer now, right? Versus before I was a professor. Now I'm thinking of myself as a
Well,
writer.
you are a writer and an author, and I'm glad that you're deciding to do this. So, this fun novel comes with a warning up front, and I'll just read it for those of
Okay.
you who are interested in getting it. This book includes frank discussions of sex and violence, though no explicit descriptions of either. It also contains crass humor and crude language of all kinds. You're welcome. So this really sets us up for your humor in the book. Have you always been a funny biatch?
I've always tried to be. It's not always successful. And this is one of the things like when I was teaching, right? It was like I'd be telling these jokes in front of 100 students and sometimes they fall flat. Sometimes sometimes
Well,
they were
I
sometimes they were not so funny, but every once in a while I would get a chuckle. And yeah, I love humor. I love, and one of the things that's interesting is that a lot of people don't really think about like the ancient world as being funny. But
okay.
when you
Okay.
read like ancient comedies,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're like dick jokes, fart jokes, sex jokes. They
Yeah.
have slang, they're cussing, and it's like that kind of humor
Yeah.
is universal. It's always been around. And I think
Yes.
we don't think about it because we think about like tragedies and epic poems, and we think of like the marble statues and all this. And we think of the ancient world as being kind of like cold and removed almost from our experience.
And classic, when you say the word
Yeah.
classic, you have this very refined
Right.
sense that goes with that.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things that I always loved about teaching classes about ancient literature was just like totally ruining my students' perception of what, the ancient Greeks and Romans were like, right? Because they're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, they were rude, they were funny, they were obsessed with sex, they were,
Yes.
and you're just like, oh, okay, like,
Yes.
hello, they were people, like,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And I bet that made your classes, I'm sure it made your classes that much more fun and interesting, right?
yeah. Well, I
Because,
tried anyway.
yeah, I mean, when you say classics, you think stuffy, and
Hmm.
they're not all stuffy. Even Shakespeare. I mean, he's got some crude humor in
Hmm.
there, and sex and homosexuality and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
Yes,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. So, like Zeus did with women, you have taken liberties with
Hmm.
some of the myths.
Hmm.
So how much fun did you have writing this book? And this is not a tome. This is, 150 pages ish,
Yeah.
right? How
Yeah.
much fun did you have
I
writing
had
this?
I had so much fun. The the inspiration for this book came when my husband and I attended a performance of the Colorado Symphony Orchestra, and they were doing a work. I can't remember who the composer was, but it was a work called The Sirens, right?
Okay.
And the conductor got up and was talking about, the sirens who lured men to their death, and I was just like, what if they were just singing on their island to themselves, and these men kept making assumptions and coming to the, you know what I mean? And I just thought that
Mm-hmm.
was a really funny thought.
Mm-hmm.
And so then what I did was I kind of looked into all of the sources, all of the traditions that we have about the sirens, right? Because they're kind of briefly mentioned, but they're in a lot of different works. So I did some research, which I love to do. I
Yeah.
did some research and I looked into some of the sources about the sirens and like what was their story? Like where did they come from? How did they, meet their ends?
Tell our
So
audience a little bit about that because that was a question I had.
yes.
Tell us about how they got such a bad rap.
Yeah. Well, interestingly and perhaps not surprisingly, a lot of the, really big scary monsters in the ancient world were female, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
this idea of like, these female creatures taking you, distracting you, right, pulling you off from your journey, just is interesting. And it's interesting too that, and this is another thing I wanted to address in the book, right? In other cultures there were similar creatures who were more like mermaids,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, when they think about sirens, they think about mermaids because those two images have been kind of conflated.
Mm-hmm.
But in the ancient Greek mindset, they were sort of half bird, half women,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
I tried to, like, no spoilers, but I tried to kind of make a connection there,
I
right?
love
Between
what you did.
those.
And again, no spoilers, but I love what you did with that. Just love it.
So then, after I'd done my research and I had some of the things that I wanted to include in my story and some things that I wanted to take liberties with, right? So, for example, it is part of the classical tradition that the sirens sang at the Argonauts, right, as the Argonauts were sailing by. But I kind of thought, well, wouldn't it be fun if they actually just kind of had a meeting of some kind, right? And then they got to tell their stories to each other. And then, so I took some liberties with the sources, but I also tried to like include some things that really do show up in the sources and the different sources. And I wrote the first draft in 4 days.
Awesome. Oh my gosh.
I well, and I'm not normally that fast a writer. Like I have some other works that I've done, and so this it was over my spring break from
Okay.
teaching, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was just so like ready to do it, and so I just got that first draft out and in 4 days, and then I kept, of course, working on it after that. But anyway, it was really, really fun to write, and I was cracking myself up the whole time.
Well, again, and what I loved about reading Sirens Go Off was imagining you writing this and laughing out loud.
Yeah, I totally was.
Because I was. There was so many places where I'm just like I was guffawing like
Uh-huh.
big time. Oh my gosh. So which muse do you think inspired you to get this out in 4 days, your first draft?
Oh gosh.
Was it
Well,
one of the
not
sirens?
Calliope,
Not
right?
Calliope.
Not that bitch Calliope.
And again, before the Argonauts came through, the sirens were luring shipwrecks, unbeknownst to them,
Right.
and they were just like, "Oh, those poor guys. Well, we need to eat, so we'll we'll barbecue them." And I mean, it's just the fact that they, yeah, add meat to their vegetarian diets is pretty funny.
Yes.
So you may not have had just one muse, but um, tell us about Greece. So the photo that you sent me that I used on the little thumbnail, you were in Greece.
I was.
Tell us about Greece.
Oh gosh,
Why were you there? Was it research for Sirens Go Off?
it wasn't, but it did end up kind of helping, right? I mean,
Okay.
I went to the American School of Classical Studies in Athens. Has a
Ooh.
big, they have like year-long programs, they have summer programs, and then they have these 3-week seminars in the summer as well. And a lot of them are, or sorry, I should say all of them, all of the seminars are sort of organized around a particular theme.
Okay.
And the theme for the seminar that I went to in the summer of 2023 was like sex and gender in the ancient world, which
Okay.
is something that I taught, right? I taught those kinds of classes. And so I kind of went, in the guise of this is going to help my teaching. And it absolutely did, right?
Hmm.
Because we're
Hmm.
going to all of these sites and we're going to all these museums and we're thinking about these topics like as we're there immersed in this world. And so it was definitely, it helped my teaching a lot, but it also really helped me with writing this, writing Sirens Go Off because I could just like, I could just feel being there, right? I could just feel being there and I could see it and I could smell it. And it was just like, it was just so wonderful. So,
Yay. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And I made
So,
a bunch of new friends there
yeah.
because it's the people who do these seminars is like some of them are students, right? Some of them are undergraduate students, there's graduate students, and then there were several professors like me there, and we all just kind of bonded on this like amazing journey that we got to take. And so, you'll see in that picture I look very happy because I
Yeah,
was very
yes.
happy. It was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely beaming. It's wonderful. It's lovely. So, I'm kind of sad now that you're not still teaching because I would take one of your classes. Oh man. So,
Well, I might go back to it. I did really love teaching. I loved being in the classroom, but just ready to try some new things, but who knows, maybe I'll go back someday.
all right, all right. Again, reading through this, and I when I read through people that I have that I interview, I always read their books, and I mark things. I have so many things marked here, and so it would take me too long to go through all the places where I laughed out loud. But like you've got Hermes, right, saying don't shoot the messenger.
Hmm.
Literally, you have so much tongue in cheek in here, and well, I guess we could say cheeky, very cheeky humor.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite god? And I say God, I'm not saying goddess because
Right.
and maybe this is something that I've kind of dealt with in my life about women being used in the diminutive form, right? I mean, I'm a
Hmm.
West Point grad. I was in the army. I've done shit, and I remember being introduced to my sister's neighbor in Maine, and an old white dude, and my sister told him that I wrote books, and he said, "Oh, so you're an authoress?"
Oh,
And I'm like, an authoress? I mean, what even is that? So, but you think about that, right? They're actors and actresses, right? I mean,
hmm.
where the female of something is always being put down a little bit. I
Hmm.
was wondering, I was walking yesterday and I was thinking of ballerinas, right? The little Ina. What do you call a
Hmm.
male ballet person, a dancer? And so, like,
Yeah,
I think there needs to be a new word. I'm going with ballator
I
for,
like it.
yeah. I mean, it gives strength to those who do ballet. I'm a
Hmm.
ballator. Anyway, I kind of went off on this. So, who's your favorite god?
Well, I do like Hermes, as you can probably
Yeah.
tell from my book. I've always loved Hermes. One of my favorite works of ancient literature, which not a lot of people know about, is called the Homeric Hymn to Hermes. And it's
Oh.
all about how when Hermes was born, he immediately on day one said, "You know what? I'm here to fuck shit up." Right? And he immediately was like, "I'm gonna disrupt the order of Olympus. I'm gonna make a name for myself." And he goes out and he steals Apollo's cattle from him. And Apollo kind of follows, he follows the tracks and he gets to the cave where Hermes and his mother are. And Hermes is like his form is he's like an actual baby, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Apollo's like, "Where's my cattle?" And Hermes is like, "What's a cattle? I was just I was just born yesterday. I don't know even what you're talking about." And so Apollo's like, "All right, that's enough. I'm taking you to dad." Right? And he picks Hermes up and lifts him up, and Hermes farts on him.
Because that's what
And
children do.
I just,
Yeah,
I just think it's so funny. And he's like the god of sort of movement and action and and I just
messenger.
sort of love that about
Yeah,
him. And then I
yeah.
also I also really love Dionysus, the god of wine and sort of release
Parties.
and freedom. Yes, exactly. I call him the god of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And in fact, I have next on my list of books to write is sort of an adaptation of a Dionysus myth. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, yay. Yay. All right. All
Yeah,
right.
so those are my favorites.
Okay. I like it. Oh my gosh. You you hit on misogyny in it and the
hmm
idea of the passing out of women as
hmm
prizes.
hmm
The whole to the victors go the spoils idea.
hmm
This is nothing new, is it?
Mm-mm. Yeah, I know it's something that's so present in so much of what we know about the ancient world and so much of what we read. And it's very unsettling, right? And
Yeah.
on the one hand, you can put yourself in the mindset of like, oh, things were different, but on the other hand, it still bothers you, or it should bother you, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that was something that, I think it's definitely meant to be anachronistic to have the sirens have this very like modern take on, hey, maybe we shouldn't be handing out women as prizes.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I do think that there is a lot of questioning of that even in some of our ancient literature as well, right? Like we sort of take it for granted that that's just the way things were. But there were plenty of authors who were like writing from the viewpoint of the women who were lamenting what was happening to them and they seemed to be taking it very seriously, right? That this is a horrible experience for the women.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I just really tried to play that up a little bit. A lot of the ways that my sirens react to the things that are happening are inspired by the way like my students in my classes would react to things, right? Like
Really?
like hold on, they're passing out women as prizes, like like that's horrible. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And you're women and
hmm
Sirens Go Off. Thelks is the narrator. She's
hmm
the MC of the three, and then you
hmm
have Malpe and Noe,
No, yeah.
Noe, and
Yeah.
Noe doesn't speak.
hmm
She can sing. She doesn't
hmm
speak. Why does she not speak?
So I have her lack of speech as being rooted in one of the traumas, one of the many traumas that they experienced, right?
Yeah,
And it's also inspired by the fact that this is something that happens very often to women in the ancient world. So, for example, if you think about the works of Ovid, who wrote the Metamorphoses, which is all about these people getting changed into animals or rocks or trees or whatever it is, right, in these
mhm.
stories. One of the things that we notice is that, the change often represents taking away of their voice, right?
Yeah,
So women getting changed, like there's the famous story of Io, who was being raped by Zeus,
Yeah.
right? By Jupiter in Ovid because he's Roman.
Mhm.
And he turns her into a cow, and then she's trying to communicate what has happened to her father and, to these other people. And, the taking away of the voice is just such a scary thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I felt like through Noe I was representing that, and then like having her get her voice back when they get the agency and they decide that this is what they're going to do. I felt
Mhm.
represented that shift from being a victim of circumstance to, having agency and the ability to express yourself.
Yes, that was absolutely beautiful. And excuse me, you talk about love, and Amathea says, is talking about love. She says it makes us all act like fucking idiots.
Yeah.
And which, again, true, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's hormonal. I mean, there's a lot of hormonal stuff going on in here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of sex. Your main character is lesbian, and her that relationship is beautiful and fraught with uh, challenges also,
Mm-hmm.
all the way through. Why does love make us act like fucking idiots?
I wish I knew the answer to that question, but it's certainly something that people have acknowledged since the beginning of recorded history, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I was tutoring a student in Latin this morning, and we were reading a quote from an ancient author who says, "Even for a god, it is not permitted to love and to be sensible at the same time."
Oh,
Right. And then we're
yeah.
talking like, we're like thousands of years ago, right? This is something that everybody
Every
knew and nobody took for granted, right? That this is just, it just puts us out of our minds.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. And again, sex and things like war. Thelks
hmm
is talking about the Battle of Troy, and she says, "Same shit, different day. The gods
hmm
are the gods are petty, and mortals suffer."
hmm
So, I'm assuming you've studied world religions too.
hmm
Vindictive gods,
hmm
right?
hmm
Um, our Old Testament God,
hmm hmm
vindictive, petty, the raping of women. But Mary was a virgin, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really is a tale as old as time that, um, and it's interesting that even in the ancient world, there were a lot of people being like, why do the gods act this way? Right? Like it doesn't really make any sense for the gods to be involving themselves in human affairs in this way, in the way that they show up in the stories, right? In the
Hmm.
myths. And so even then it was sort of a puzzling thing, but I do think it's meant to explain a lot of the bad things that happen to people. Right? Like why is this person who, as far as we know, is a good person, why is this person experiencing these horrible things? It's like, well, we don't know what's going through the gods' minds. And so I think it's meant to represent the fact that, the people who are in power, the people who have authority, can kind of act however they want. And then the rest of us are left with not understanding why things are the way they are.
Yeah, I mean the story of Job, right? I mean,
hmm
come on, come on, right? Are we supposed
hmm
to think that that was okay of a God to do those things?
hmm
Um, we could go deep here, but I don't really want to
Yeah.
because I want to have
Yeah.
more fun. There's been so much artwork also inspired by God and the gods. Have
hmm
you ever used artwork
hmm
in your classes?
hmm
I
Yeah, I think art is such a great way to access these stories because, well, first of all, the visual medium is so like it's so immediate, right? But also because people do like represent things in such different ways based on how they interpret the story. And they represent things in different ways based on their own cultural context or their own the aesthetics of like what's popular in art at the time. And so it's such an interesting way to access like the way that the stories have affected people and the way that the stories have been changed based on the author and the audience, right?
yeah. Is there a favorite piece of art that you've used? I mean, Lita and the Swan comes to my mind.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
mean, she's having fun.
Mm.
I mean, she's like, ooh, it's flap those wings,
Yeah,
baby. Um, there's some very visually stimulating artwork. Uh,
yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think it's interesting. I can't come up with like a single one. I mean, one of my favorite works of art about the sirens is a very, very ancient one. It's as a pot and it's got Odysseus, lashed to the mast and the sirens are sort of swooping down on him and I kind of put that in the end of mine too, right? Where you
yeah,
see the sirens like swooping down on him. But the sirens look so ridiculous. I mean, it's literally like the whole body of a bird with just like a woman's head on it,
yeah, yeah.
and it's like,
I've seen that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And so I always like showing that one to my students because it's not, as romantic or as sexy a version as what you see in some of the other.
And I don't believe there's an actual statue of a siren flipping off the heavens,
Correct.
which again, I absolutely love this cover. And how did you come about this cover?
So this cover was made by one of my former students.
Oh,
And he also did my cover for my first novel that I did as well. But I loved working with him because first of all, he's super talented. But second of all, I kind of said like, all right, well, I want her to be flipping off the gods, but I also want it to look like an ancient statue. And he was
yeah,
immediately like, well, I'm going to combine the Aphrodite of Cnidus with the Nike of Samothrace, and then I'm going to, like he had all these like
yeah,
references in his
yeah,
head.
yeah,
And he even put like sort of, you can see like it looks like um, marble that's been distressed in certain
yep,
places,
yep.
right? And then the last thing that we added were the little
The
sunglasses because I thought that
sunglasses.
was funny. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he just did a phenomenal job, and I love working with him and yeah.
So, have we evolved at all in our beliefs about God and gods and why
That's
we're
a
here?
big question.
Maybe that's for another
Yeah.
session because I
I
often
don't
wonder about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. I can't tell if it's depressing or comforting to
Ah,
read the ancient works and to realize how little we've changed.
mm,
Because on the one hand,
depressing. I find it depressing.
yeah, I mean it is depressing in many ways, but it's the comforting part of it is just realizing that, the things that we see as like, oh, this is a new problem that we're facing now. And it's like, no, this is something that's sort of been universal since the beginning of time. And so I guess it is more depressing. But but I don't know, my students I think always found comfort in the fact that, when you read these works by ancient people, they're not perfect. They're struggling. They have flaws, and there's something about that that makes it easier to sort of realize that the things you experience are not new or there's not something
Yeah.
wrong with you, right? Because this is just part of the human experience. But certainly when it comes to things like, hey, why can't we just like, stop fighting each other?
Yeah, yeah,
That's depressing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right, all right. Speaking of depressing, what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence?
Mm. So that's actually a big reason why I'm leaving or why I've left teaching.
I wondered if that had anything to do with it because
Yes.
I used to teach and I
Hmm.
cannot imagine right now having to having to figure out who's using what and how and
Right.
talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, students, some students have always found ways to to find the easy way to do something, but it just seems like with AI and with the acceptance of I mean, that's the thing that really broke me was that CU Boulder like just invested all this money in having a like CU specific chatbot for students to use. And I'm like, "Okay, you're always telling me you don't have enough money
Hmm.
for giving
Teachers?
people raises." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like for paying me more or whatever it is, right? But now you're sinking millions of dollars into like getting this chat tool that students should not be using.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're just sort of
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is a great idea." And I'm like, "Why do you think this is a great idea?" So, I mean, one of the things that surprised me is actually a lot of my students were very against AI.
Okay.
And because they see you know, maybe it's because I taught in the classics department, right? Where I had students in Latin classes, and it's like, all right, they're already super nerdy. So like they're there to learn,
Yeah.
right? And so many of my students in those classes were really upset about CU kind of accepting AI in this way. And they were like, we're here to do the work. We're here to learn. And you're signaling to us that it's okay to take shortcuts and it's okay to, like they didn't like that. But then I had a lot of other students who were maybe in like my bigger classes where it was like a big myth class that they're just taking for, a credit, a humanities credit. And it's like, I'm reading all these papers and they're all the same as each other.
Mm.
And
Mm.
not the same enough for me to be able to sort of catch them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the thing with AI is it's not the same as what students used to do, which is like copy and paste from Wikipedia or whatever, right? It's like that's easy to catch.
Right.
But
Right.
when you have all of these things where it's like the wording is different, but everybody is using the same examples in the same order in the same,
Yeah.
and it was just very I'm like, why am I using my time to read these things when
Yeah.
they're not using their time to write them, you
Right.
know?
I have
So
had
that's a big thing for me.
yeah, I've had a bit of a revelation because I've always had this kind of gut feeling that, you know, artificial intelligence bad. It's artificial. It's not real intelligence, right? I mean, the word's right there, artificial. Um, and
Hmm.
and then our son works in tech, and he talked about his company that purchased, the executive version of Claude, whatever. And he was able to come up with a solution to the problem with the company in a matter of uh, hours, and with something that could have taken him months. And so
Right.
I look at that and I think, okay, well, in that instance, it's not creative writing, it's solving a problem. And in that case, really helpful. And wow, that's incredible. So
Hmm.
I've always been against it. However, I recently decided that I was going to compile um, years worth of my essays and make it kind of memoirish. And so I downloaded them all from my website, which my website's going to disappear. We can talk about social media if we feel like it, but I'm trying to get off as much of it as I can. Anyway, I had all these essays. I have
Mm.
like, I don't know, 78,000 words of essays. And I thought, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to organize this? And so I downloaded Claude and I put my document in there and I said, how should I arrange these? Within 5 minutes, it came back with an arrangement of the different essays, having gone through and suggesting five different themes that it found.
Mm,
It would have taken
yeah,
me forever. I was thinking, I'm going to have to print these all out and I'm going to have to, read them and figure out this goes with this and this goes with this. It did it in 5 minutes. And so
right,
I'm thinking, wow, now it's a slippery slope, right? Because I could have said, clean these
right,
up, rewrite these to make them funnier, rewrite these to make them whatever, and it would have done it. And
right,
that's where I
right.
think you know, how, therein lies the problem, right? So I am delighted that
Yes.
that
Yeah.
that
No.
saved me the organizational aspect of what I knew I needed to do with my document, but was dreading doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not having it
Right.
rewrite anything. But
Right.
so, kind of like any new tech, right? Everybody's up in arms and it's going to destroy us. And yet,
Right.
the other edge of the knife is that it can do some pretty amazing things. So, mm, ah, that's
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I definitely see the uses of AI for, like, I've heard it's really great in for like medical systems, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
compiling and checking things against things and even diagnosing it's helpful for. I know for tech, I know for business it's very useful.
yeah,
I think it's really great for things like cutting down on your busy work, like you were
yeah,
just saying for your
yeah.
essays, right? It's
Mhm,
like
mhm.
you've already written the essays.
Right.
Yeah, so you've done the creative portion of the work.
Mhm.
It's just like you're having AI help you with cutting down something that would have been a very time-consuming task,
So I
right?
guess
And
creative
so
is the
like I
word.
totally see that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think there are two places where AI does not belong. One is in education, right? And
Yeah.
that's because the whole point of taking one of my classes is to learn how to think about and how to express yourself about these things. And then if AI is taking that away, that's the whole point of the class, right?
Right. Right.
And then the other place for me is in in art and specifically in sort of like the creative
Mm.
process, right?
Mm.
And it's like I want I did a I am on like TikTok and stuff like that. I'm trying to be. It's a whole thing. But I did a little thing about you know, imagining somebody asking me like, "Hey, do you use AI?" And my response is like, "Well, I like writing. That's why I'm doing it."
Right. Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, like the
Exactly.
whole reason that why I decided to be a writer is because I like writing. And so like why would I use AI to write my stories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of that's my perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not like 100% against AI, but I do think that there are
Right.
some places where it doesn't belong. So
Don't rewrite my stuff. Don't
right.
rewrite it to make it whatever it is you think you can do to
Yeah,
it. Because then it's not my voice, it's not me, it's not my story.
right.
Uh, so what's in the works? You mentioned you've got something else you're working on right now?
Yeah, I have a few things I'm working on right now. So, I have 4 books out. One of them that I just published was something I worked on with my kids. I wanted them to experience a Greek tragedy, but they're not quite at the reading level yet where they would
Your
have
own
been able
children,
to.
your own children, not your
My own
students.
children,
Okay.
yes, my own children. I know teachers always call our students
My
kids. I
kids.
know.
Yeah.
My own children. I was like, I really wanted them to read Antigone,
Oh,
which is, the play about this young woman sort of standing up to power and, putting her life on the line for what's right. And it's just such an amazing, amazing work. And it's performed everywhere, like all
yeah.
around the world, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted them to read that, but they were a little young for the translations that are out there, right, which tend to be very dense and difficult. So I decided to make it's adapted in that I've just really simplified the language that's
Okay.
being used in the translation. I didn't change anything about the story. I didn't change the characters, right? I didn't change the way that the dialogue goes. And that was a really fun project because they ended up being my beta readers,
Ah.
right?
And
So
how
like
old are
I did
they?
it, then they're 11 and 13 at the
Okay.
time when we were working on it. They were 10 and
Okay.
12. And so like I did this first draft and then I gave it that we read it together and I had them take the different parts and then and I did like a little introduction and things like that too. And so they were helping me by commenting on, oh, I don't really understand that or, this line seems a little awkward and like they really got into it and it was really fun. So that's my latest publication and then I'm currently working on a contemporary romance and an epic fantasy, and then also a horror novel based on that Dionysus myth that I was talking about. So,
Oh, I can't wait to read that one.
yeah.
I love horror. Yeah.
Yeah. My first book was horror, so
Okay. All
yeah.
right. Advice to other authors out there, whether they be already published or not.
The best thing I have ever done is finding a writing group.
Mhm. Why? I mean, I
Well,
agree, but why?
yes. I mean, they they keep you accountable, right? They keep you working. They're people that you can bounce ideas off of. They're people who can read your work and give you feedback. They're people who have experience, more or less experience or different experience than you do that can, help you think of new ways to go about things. And it's really fantastic. So our writing group, we meet once a week just on Zoom because we're kind of from all over
Hmm.
Colorado.
Hmm.
Occasionally we meet in person. We just met in person this last week, but we meet once a week on Zoom and we just put together a little, not really a competition. It's sort of a competition where it's like every day you can get 2 points. One point is for just opening your manuscript, and the other point is for writing something in your manuscript. And so the goal is just to make sure that we're all, just every day at least opening the manuscript if possible, right?
Because if you
Um,
open it, you're likely to write a
yes.
word. And then
Yes.
if you give a mouse a cookie,
Yes. So yeah, they've been so great with giving feedback on our drafts. We're also doing an anthology together, a short story anthology
okay.
together. And so it's really the thing that has led me to become a self-published author is having this writing group and the support from the writing group.
What's the
So
writing group called?
the writing group.
The writing group. You will send me links,
Yes.
right? And so where can people find your work and follow you?
Well, so currently, my all of my books are only available on Amazon, but I'm working on changing that
To what?
to getting them on Ingram Spark so I can start
Okay.
getting them into bookstores. So my
Yep.
first novel, Her Undying Thirst, which is my vampire horror novel, that one I'm getting into bookstores right now. I got it up on Ingram Spark, but
Okay.
just it's a process, as you know.
Yes, I know.
And so the other ones are available on Amazon. So I've got Her Undying Thirst. I have Sirens Go Off, of course. I have one called The Essential Argonautica, which is a translation of Jason and the Argonauts.
Ah,
And then there's the Antigone one, which is called Antigone, Daughter of Thebes.
and that would
And
be for a
that's
younger
aimed
audience.
at sort of, yeah, it's aimed at sort of like middle school audience. So I've got those. And then I do have a website, ReinaCallier.com,
Okay.
keeping it easy.
Yeah, yep.
And then on TikTok, I am the Smutty Professor.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Send me those links. I will have
Okay,
the
I will.
links all below. Um, people, we've been visiting with Reina Callier, author of Sirens Go Off and several other books. This one is absolutely delightful and hilarious, and you will guffaw out loud. You absolutely will. It's wonderful. You'll learn some things, you'll question some things, you'll want to talk about it with people. Um, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Of course, it's free, and why not? Just do it because I always have fascinating people on, like Reina. And is there anything else you would like our audience to know about you or your or writing or anything?
No, just, if you want to write, you can do it, right? Even
Yeah.
if you're just writing a sentence a day, like that adds up, right?
Yeah, it
So you
does.
can do it. You can do
It,
it.
yeah, it does. It does. Just like with anything else, any other good habit that you want to create, you need to start.
Yes.
And one push-up, one word generally leads to a second and a third and others. So, Reina Callier, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I look forward to reading your other books and keep being awesome.
Oh, thank you, Laurel. You're awesome too. So right back at you.
Well, thanks. We'll see you around Colorado somewhere.
Sounds good.
Take care. Bye bye.